All right, let's jump into Canto 4 of Dante's Inferno.
Okay.
It starts with, like, a jolt. Broke the deep slumber in my brain, a crash of heavy thunder that I shook myself, as one by main force roused.
Ooh.
Yeah, that'll wake you up.
Yeah, talk about an alarm clock.
Right, it's like, bam, here we are.
Yeah, it is. So it's like, are we going to a new circle of hell? Is it like the calm before the storm?
It's definitely still hell, but yeah, you're right, something's different here.
Okay, yeah. So to recap, just to like get everyone on the same page, we left off with Dante pretty much losing it.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't you? He's facing down eternity.
Yeah, that's fair. And Virgil, what's the deal again? Virgil, he's like the embodiment of human reason, like a walking, talking encyclopedia of the ancient world. He can't get Dante into heaven, but he can guide him through this mess using his brains, you know,
So it's intellect over faith here.
for now at least. And that leads us right into Canto 4 and the first circle of hell, Limbo.
Limbo. That word's always sounded kind of chill to me.
Right, like a beach vacation.
Definitely not a place in hell.
Well, it's hell, all right, just a different flavor, not fire and brimstone and all that.
So what is it? It's like a waiting room?
It's for people who were good, but not good enough for heaven.
Okay, so like babies who weren't baptized.
Exactly. And virtuous pagans, folks who were born before Christ and all that.
So no fault of their own, really.
They led good lives, but just missed the boat, cosmically speaking. That's what makes Limbo so messed up, and honestly, maybe even worse than the lower circle.
Well, it's worse than the fire and torture and demons.
Because it's not active pain. It's the absence of something they want desperately. Like, imagine knowing paradise exists, but you can never get in.
Oof. Yeah, that's rough. Okay, but here's where it gets wild. Dante decides to, like, pack Limbo with a bunch of celebrities. We're talking Homer, Aristotle, Socrates, even Saladin.
It's a power move. Like, he's saying, look who I'm hanging out with. Even in hell, I'm in the VIP section.
But, like, what's the deeper meaning? Is he saying they all went to hell because they weren't Christian?
It's more complex than that. Remember, Dante admired these guys. He was a huge fan of classical learning. He's grappling with a real theological dilemma here. What happens to good people who just weren't dealt the right religious hand?
So he's not, like, condemning them.
No, he's wrestling with the idea of divine justice. Is it really just if good people get shut out of paradise just because of the circumstances of their birth?
Heavy stuff. Okay, but let's go back to the VIP room for a sec. Dante doesn't just meet these guys. He gets invited to join their poet crew.
It's a major confidence boost.
Imagine that.
And it's key to understanding Dante's whole project here. He's not just writing about hell, he's writing himself into literary history. He's putting himself on par with the greats.
So it's like, hey, I might be going to hell, but at least I'm with the cool kids.
Exactly.
But speaking of cool, they're not exactly suffering in some dingy basement, right?
Not at all.
They're hanging out in a giant castle. What's up with that?
The castle's a powerful symbol. 7 walls, probably representing the 7 liberal arts. Grammar, logic, rhetoric, all that jazz. It was like the core curriculum for a good medieval education.
Oh, so even in hell, there's homework.
Basically, it suggests that even without God, there's still value in learning and knowledge.
Okay, so knowledge is its own reward, even if it can't get you into heaven.
Right, and the atmosphere inside the castle, it's described as noble, dignified, totally different from the chaos at Hell's Gate.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, limbo is hell, but it's also kind of nice.
It's like Dante saying that the pursuit of knowledge, of beauty, of truth has inherent value, even if it doesn't lead to salvation.
Deep. But wait, there's more. Virgil mentions some mighty one coming down to limbo and breaking some souls out. What's that all about? Is there a secret escape route?
That's where Christian theology comes back in. Virgil, remember, he's all about pre-Christian wisdom, so he can only go so far. This mighty one, he's hinting at, well, that's Christ, descending into hell after his death to free the righteous souls of the Old Testament.
Whoa, okay. So even limbo isn't a total dead end.
Maybe not. It opens this whole can of worms, right? Like, is Dante suggesting that even those outside the Christian faith might have a chance at redemption?
Wow, Dante really likes to keep us guessing. So, okay, we've got this weird mix of hope and despair.
Yeah, exactly.
But what's the overall mood in limbo? Because it's definitely not the fiery pit of despair we saw earlier.
Melancholy, I'd say. These souls, they're not being tortured, but they're aware of what they're missing. They're surrounded by beauty and knowledge, but there's this nagging sense of absence.
It's like they're at the world's best library, but they can't check out any books.
Perfect analogy. And that yearning, that unfulfilled potential, honestly, that might be more agonizing than any physical pain.
Man, Limbo's making my head spin.
I know, right? It's a lot to take in. But we're just getting started. The deeper we go, the more intense it gets.
Okay, deep breaths, everybody. We're going to need a minute to process all this before we move on.
Take your time. This is heavy stuff. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Dante's Inferno. We'll see you next time as we continue our exploration of this timeless classic.